old house creaked around me, a symphony of age and neglect. Dust motes danced in the slivers of moonlight that pierced the grimy window panes, illuminating the shadowy corners of the living room. I was alone, my parents out of town for the weekend, leaving me with strict instructions to lock up tight and not answer the door for anyone. Easy enough, I thought. I'd always been a solitary kid, preferring the company of books and the quiet hum of my own thoughts. Then came the knock. It wasn't a timid tap nor a friendly rap. This was a deliberate, heavy thud that vibrated through the floorboards and settled deep in my gut. My heart leaped into my throat, a frantic bird trapped in a cage. I froze, straining my ears. Silence. I told myself it was the wind, a branch scraping against the house. Anything but what it sounded like. Another knock. Louder this time, more insistent. It was undeniably a person at the door. My mind, already primed for solitude, screamed danger. I wasn't expecting anyone. My parents had made it abundantly clear. Slowly, almost imperceptibly, I crept towards the front door. The wood felt cold and rough beneath my fingertips as I reached for the deadbolt. My breath hitched. I peered through the peephole, my eye pressed against the glass. A face, not one I recognized. A man, his features indistinct in the dim porch light. His eyes, even from this distance, seemed to bore into me, black and hollow. He was unnervingly still, a statue carved from shadow. He wasn't just standing there, he was waiting. And then I saw it. In his hand, held casually by his side, was something long and glinting. A knife, a crowbar. It was impossible to tell, but the intent behind its presence was chillingly clear. He was armed. Panic, cold and sharp, seized me. I stumbled backward, my hand fumbling for the phone on the hall table. My fingers trembled as I dialed 911, the numbers blurring before my eyes. The operator's voice was a calm, distant island in my sea of terror. I managed to choke out my address, my voice a ragged whisper. As I spoke, a faint scratching sound began at the door. Not a knock, but a deliberate, drawn-out scraping, like nails on wood. Then, a low, guttural sound, barely audible, like a sigh or a growl. It sent a fresh wave of fear coursing through me. I hung up the phone, my hand shaking so violently I could barely grip it. The scratching intensified, accompanied by a soft thud against the door. It felt like the house itself was groaning, buckling under some unseen pressure. I backed away further, my eyes glued to the door, expecting it to splinter inward at any moment. Suddenly, the scratching stopped. The thudding ceased. An oppressive silence descended, thicker and more terrifying than the sounds that had preceded it. I held my breath, waiting. Minutes stretched into an eternity. Then a voice, not from the door, but from inside the house. A low, raspy whisper, impossibly close. "I see you." My blood ran cold. I was not alone. My mind raced, desperately trying to rationalize. Was it my imagination? The creaking house playing tricks on me? But the voice had been so clear, so chillingly present. I spun around, my eyes darting into the darkness of the hallway. Nothing, just the shadows, deeper and more menacing than before. The air grew heavy, suffocating. I felt a prickling sensation on the back of my neck, the undeniable feeling of being watched. Then, from the living room, a floorboard creaked, a slow, deliberate sound. Someone was moving in there, with me. I knew then that the man at the door was not the real threat. He was merely a distraction. The true horror was already inside, a predator lurking in the familiar darkness of my own home. The silence was a trap, the shadows a veil, and I was caught, a helpless mouse in a house that had suddenly become a maze of terror. Welcome to the Aqeela Files. Did you think you were safe in your own home? That knock at the door, was it just a warning? Or a prelude to something far worse? You might want to check your locks again. And listen very, very closely. Because whatever is lurking in the shadows, it's always listening. Don't stay alone in the dark.